player manager.
Did you have a coach? Guys just...
No, we just played ball.
Okay. Jumped out there and played ball. You play at night mostly?
We played, for the most part, early on, we played a Sunday
Weekends?
afternoon.
Okay.
Didn't have any lights.
Did you have crowds, people come and watch?
Oh, a few.
Yeah.
Nothing big. Not enough
Yeah.
to support buying.
A lot of fun though.
We had fun.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay, when you were, so we talked about softball because Herman Shane, who everybody that grew up in Hillsborough knows Perfection Bakery, and they don't always know who the players were, but I've interviewed Don Shane. He's a friend of mine now.
He's
You know
the youngest
Don.
one.
He's-
Played with his two brothers, Orville and Howard.
Yeah, all three of them went into baking like their dad. So we talked about softball league. Was that men's and women's or just men's?
Just men's.
Did the women have a league then?
At one time, they formed a softball league or had men and women together, and I played at one of those teams.
Co-ed?
Yeah.
So you must be in your 30s by now. So this is mid 50s roughly.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. So what were you doing for work at that point?
I got out of college.
Yeah.
Jobs were very scarce because all the GIs who started.
Oh God, yeah, the
was over.
GIs came home and took all the jobs.
Well, and the guys who got out of college were all looking for that same job. So my first job, I got in on construction, helping build a house in Birchwood. And then when I was in high school, my last 2 years of high school, after we moved to town, I was walking home one day with a young man named Jack Seacrest, and I said, I got to find something to do. And he said, well, I've been working at the CC store, and I'm going to quit. So I went down, and they hired me in Candy before I had a chance to quit.
CC store was right on Main,
On Main Street.
near the corner of 3rd Main, just
Right.
down from the Chute Bank or
Yep.
whatever bank it was then. Was it a variety store, a clothing
It
store?
was a clothing store.
Clothing store.
Yeah. And,
Men's?
Men's department store is what it was.
Okay.
Small department store,
Yeah,
2,000 square feet.
right.
So I worked, I would come after school and I'd work. And then I recall come baseball season, I went to Mr. Garrett, the owner, and I said, I gotta play baseball. He says, if you can give me an hour a day, I'll raise your wages from 25 cents an hour to 35 cents an hour. So I said, by God, I'll find a way, and which I did.
Huh.
I worked there that summer, got back to school, and then I got a summer job in construction, and then I worked there after my senior year. No, did I? And I worked one more time there.
Is this before the war? Before you went to war?
No, this is after.
After the war. You went to CC store?
Yeah.
You
Well,
worked
after
there?
war. The first was before the war.
Okay.
Then I went during college. I went back and worked for him part time.
Who owned the CC store?
A man named Jack Garrett and Catherine White.
Catherine White and Jack what?
Garrett,
Garrett. Were they good people?
very good people.
It was a well-known store, so.
Jack was, Mr. Garrett was older. He was probably, when I went to work for him, was probably 65, 70 years old, and I think she was probably 55 or 60. And they each one owned 50% of the store.
Right. What did CC stand for?
Carter and Carter, who were the original owners of the store, and the original owner of the store was on 3rd Street. And they moved it over to Main Street. Mr. Garrett did when he got it.
Carter and Carter. Were they local people, the Carters? You know?
I think they were in Vancouver.
Okay.
I didn't know them.
Okay. Yeah, we got Carters
Well,
from
I
here,
did
but
meet them one time because we had wallpaper upstairs, and he called and told him that he buys odd lots of stuff, and he bought a bunch of wallpaper. So we went over to see what all he had, and he had a whole raft of very quality wallpaper.
so you got it.
So we bought it and sold it. But that's the only time I ever met that man.
Huh. So what happened after the CC store? Where'd you go to work?
Well, I never went after the war, and after I got out of high school or college, I went to work for him, and I never went to work for anybody else. I stayed there.
You stayed at the CC store? Okay, so when did it close? What happened when it closed? Did you work till the end?
When we closed, we moved. Cruz was built a new store.
Cruise for food?
Cruz built a new store, which is the one you probably remember. But their old store sat on the corner of 6th and Baseline.
Yes.
We rented that building, and we moved downtown to that building.
Okay. But it wasn't the CC store then?
No, we changed the name to the Plaza V store.
Okay. I remember that.
And
Now, is this your business at this point?
No, I'm just a,
You worked at Plaza V.
I worked there. Well, I at one point along the way, I went to him and after Mr. Garrett died, I went to Catherine White and I said, I'd like to buy into this. And I'd like to own my own home by myself for a while. And I said, I understand that. So that went on for a couple of years, and then I started looking around for a store. I thought I'd gained enough knowledge, maybe I could run a store. And she became aware of that. So she came to me one day and says, I'll sell you a fourth interest in the store. And I said, happy with nothing down, because I haven't got any money. And she said, we'll do that, we'll set that up. So that's how I bought into the store. She financed me for
Wow.
one fourth interest in.
That just shows you how much she valued your work. You were the manager at that point?
No, she was, well, I guess maybe, but I didn't claim that
Okay.
role, because all the help you had who had been there for all these years,
Yeah.
they would have objected to think that.
When you went from CC to Plaza V, the store expanded much bigger,
Oh, yes, we went from
had a lot more items.
from 2,000 feet to 6,000 feet.
It was a variety store, right?
No, department store,
Department store.
yeah.
That's where that ended up becoming Hank's, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how long did Plaza V, do you know what year you moved there? Talking the 50s now, or are we
It was at the end of
60s?
50s.
50s sometime.
Let me think a minute. It was probably around 55 or 56.
Okay. It doesn't matter. I mean, in that era.
Yeah.
Well, you saw a lot of change between all the vehicles and the styles and everything that came through that store. How many years did Plaza V stay there? Did you stay with the store until the end?
I was with him for 30 years.
So on closing day, when Plaza V shut, you were there.
And we called it Four Seasons Department Store at that time.
Four Seasons, okay.
There's a reason that we did that too. But I was going to tell you,
Must have been hard to stay in that business because Penny's and Sears and all those guys had really, and the shopping malls had started then. Like Lloyd Center opened up and probably took business from everybody. Meyer and Frank was downtown Portland, and probably being in the suburbs, you were the local store, right? But you had
competing with Wheels and Pennies
okay,
and Strauss Reeds.
okay, yeah, I remember all, of course, all of those. So
But it was an interesting, I had a thought here I was going to throw at you. I lost it here, just a minute.
we were talking about how things changed a lot in the 50s.
Yeah, when,
Well, you'll think of it. So, do you remember what year it closed?
it closed it 30 years after I went to work there, so that would have been 1980.
80? About 1980?
30,
That sounds about
50,
right.
50 to, yeah, 80, yeah.
50 to 80. And you were there the whole time.
Yeah,
Okay. It was quite a run.
it was.
I got a picture of you out in front of Plaza V. Probably there's one on the internet. I think you're wearing a suit and tie or coat or something, and very colorful, picture. So during that 30-year run, you got married at some point.
I did. I got married 1 year after I got out of college,
What year was that? Do you remember?
1950.
Okay. Who was your wife?
Shirley McKeithen.
Shirley?
McKeithen.
Okay. Where'd you meet Shirley?
Well, I knew her brothers from all their brothers were in college when I was. And
I
was
gotcha.
familiar with them, but I really never met her. And and my friend Don Morrison said one day he was going to get married the next week, and he said, "Why don't you get a date and we'll go to a hockey game?" And I said, "Well, hell." The gal I'd been dating was home on vacation, on Christmas vacation, And I said, I don't know where I'm going to go get a date. He said, I'll get you a date. So he called Shirley.
This guy's a good buddy.
Yeah. And
He's good for everything.
she was a good friend of his wife to be.
Okay.
So we went to a hockey game.
Portland Buckaroos or something?
And then that was just a day or two before New Year's. I didn't have a date for New Year's, so I set her up for a date for New Year's, and she canceled another date to go with me.
I guess the first date went pretty well.
I guess it did, and then this was kind of crazy, but I dated her, and I was the other girl that I had been dating for several months. I date one of them one night and the other one the next night. You know?
You cad.
And
I guess you were trying.
They both knew what I was doing.
I guess you were trying to decide.
Yeah, I was.
So did you have a car at this point? You must have.
Yeah, I had a car.
What were you driving? I'm sure you had a lot of cars, Sonny.
I had a 1950 Chevy, brand new 1950 Chevy. I bought it on time. Among other things that kind of crazy
Yeah.
when I think about it. But anyway,
Well, what happened to during this time you're getting married? Where's your folks? Are they still alive?
yeah, they live in Hillsborough.
They were there still? Same house? And
No,
your-
not the same house that I grew up in. Dad built a house on 7th and
Yeah.
7th and Walnut.
7th and Walnut. Okay.
And they were living there.
There's a beautiful house there on 7th and Walnut, right on the corner. But it's an older farmhouse with a couple of big trees there.
Oh yeah, I know.
Got to be right in that area.
Yeah.
And then your brothers and sister, your two brothers and your sister, what happened to them roughly over those years that you were here? Were they here too?
They were my brother next to me. Missed his senior year in school because he got drafted before he got out.
Yeah.
So he spent the time in the Army.
Yeah.
And my brother Lyle started high school the year I got out of school.
Right.
And he was in the National Guard. And he worked for Admiral Ford all his life.
Oh wow.
And my sister was a couple of years younger than that. And she married and now married a guy from Seattle. And now they live down in the Bay Area. She's the only one alive. The other
I was
two-
going to ask you, are any of them still alive?
My sister is, but the other two died. in the
You've
last-
got nieces and nephews floating around Hillsborough here, don't you?
Yeah.
Because the Crandall name comes up fairly often.
Mike Crandall.
Yeah.
He's Lyle's son.
Okay.
He worked for us in the store the last 7, 8 years, I guess.
Yeah.
I pulled him away from Amarillo Ford. Put him to work. He became a partner.
Wow.
And there's Alan Crandall, who worked for automobile agency in Beaverton for 40 years.
Gotcha.
And my sister lives in California. Her husband is an engineer.
She's still alive, your sister.
Yeah, she's the only one still alive.
Is she 90 yet? Must not be quite be.
89 or 90, I think.
Yeah. So your kids were probably all a couple years apart,
Yeah.
roughly. That's kind of how it went back then, didn't it? I got 3 brothers and sisters, so same thing. Roughly every 2 years, mom had a kid. Well, you had quite a life between the war and all that. And so, how long were you married to your wife? You said you got married in 50.
87 she died.
1987.
Yeah, she died. Died in 87.
What happened to her?
Parkinson's disease.
Really?
The last 8 years was miserable for her.
Well, she got it at a pretty young
She
age.
did.
It hit her hard.
She had what they call a side-jacker syndrome. Have you ever heard of that? It's a tough strain of Parkinson's disease.
Wow. So you were married 37 years, and she died pretty young.
She was 57.
Wow. And you had children.
I have 3 daughters,
You do. What are your daughters' names?
Jane, Kay, and Peggy.
They're all here.
Well, no, none of them live in Hillsborough.
They moved on.
Jane lives in Tigard. That's the closest one.
Okay.
And Peggy lives in Enterprise, Oregon.
Wow.
And Kay lives in Tucson, California.
Okay. Well, good for them. They're all doing okay.
They're all retired.
I guess when you're 95, your kids are going to be retired, huh? Well, you hope so.
Yeah.
Well, that's not uncommon for people to work well into their 70s or even their 80s now. So you've been retired quite a while.
Yeah, 30 years.
You retired in 80, you said?
When I was 65, then 95, that's 30 years.
So when did you say the Four Seasons or whatever it was called then closed in 1980, or was it 1990? 1980? Must have been 80. Did you work after the store closed?
It was 1980.
Okay. And what did you work after that? That was your retirement. You hung it up.
I did.
So what have you been doing since you retired? Well, since your wife passed in 87, you were retired when your wife passed. Is that what you're saying?
She retired 2 years, 1 year before, 1 or 2 years before I retired.
Okay. And you've since gotten remarried.
And I remarried Billy Henningsen, who worked for me a short time one time. Her husband Bill was in Active Club with me, and some social things we did together.
Yeah.
And then
Henningsen.
Bill
Okay.
Henningsen. And she, they got a divorce, and I think they've probably been divorced.
Does she have kids here in Hillsboro from that?
She's got 4 kids in Hillsborough.
What are their names, do you know?
Mark, Scott, Terry, and Terry was at the house when I last, if you
Yeah.
noticed the young lady.
Yeah.
And Val,
So Scott is the appraiser, right?
yes.
Yeah, he and I are buddies.
Are you?
Yeah, it all ties together, you know.
You just missed him because he'd been there earlier.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Yes,
he
he
was
is.
a year ahead of me. And Scott married one of the Ingeldingers. Rose?
Rose Engeldinger.
And Ingeldingers had
Rexall Drugstore.
Candy Basket?
Rexall Drugstore.
Rexall. So that's the building I'm working out of now. And they're getting ready to, Mrs. Carter owns it, Marlis Carter. You probably know Marlis.
I do.
Marlis is going to redo it with that blue, kind of a granite stone front. That front's going to get smooth again, and there's some discussions about putting a neon symbol on it, not Rexall, but it had a big Rexall Delta, I think a neon sign or a big sign that stuck out from the building. So we're going to try to take the storefront and keep it kind of original, but have it go back a little bit to that older look.
Oh, good.
It's kind of neat, right? Because a lot of the buildings are getting torn up now. So after your retirement, after your second marriage, what have you been doing to keep busy the last 20 or 30 years?
Well,
besides,
start out with, I got in the antique business
oh,
just for something to do.
yeah, that's a fun business.
And then I kind of lost my interest in it because finding a capable place to sell that merchandise
Yeah.
was not easy.
And the prices are soft now.
Yeah, they are soft.
I've had some experience in that.
I got out long before that happened, but so I just,
So you were buying stuff and then putting it in antique malls and
yeah,
finding places to put it,
it's
stuff
just
like
that's
that.
something to do. Yeah. And then I went on after baseball. I went on and played softball until I was 60 years old.
Competitive, fun, kind of fun leagues.
League here in Hillsborough.
They have senior leagues and all that. You always want to play with the younger guys, though, probably, huh?
Well, we had seniors, pretty much older guys like my age playing together.
So you like the sport. You like
Oh,
softball and baseball a
I
lot.
liked that. That was my thing.
When you weren't, and so talk to me a little bit about retail. What it was like having that department store. I mean, you guys were constantly having to do marketing and reinventing yourselves and come up with ways to keep the people coming in. But you did have a good following here in town. People did like Plaza V.
Yeah. Well, it had a good following when I went there for what little business they did.
Yeah,
Because they did probably less than $100,000.
Plaza V did.
Well, when I went to work, it was a CC store, and that's
Oh.
how it was.
Yeah,
But our last years in business, we were doing $600,000 a year.
good for you. It was a dang competitive business to be in, though, like you said, with the other competitors around
Yeah.
town.
And when I went to borrow money to go, because I didn't have any money when we were trying to put that store together,
Right. It's a big building too.
it was compared to what we had.
Did they own the land there, the family?
No,
Rented it.
we rented, well,
Who owned the property? Do you remember?
Yeah, Cruise for Food.
Okay.
We were on the block with them to start with.
Cruise for Food was there, and then Cruise for Food became Hank's.
Yes,
Okay. You guys were on the side, right?
yes.
You were facing west?
We were facing west.
Okay. Yes, I remember now. I used to own the house at the corner of 6th and Washington. Would have been Ross Matthews owned it at one time.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
A big American Foursquare house.
Yeah,
And I wish I still had it. I had to sell it when the light rail went in because they shut our driveway for 2.5 years, and I couldn't get any rent out of the house, and all the banging, constant. I always wanted to open my realty firm there, or live there, because I always loved that house as a kid. You ever had a house that stuck out in your mind that you always wanted to own? When you look back over all those years and you think about our town, right, and everything that's happened to it now. We're definitely in a different era now, right?
we are.
I mean, we've left, unfortunately, the small town is gone. Parts of it are still here, and some of the people are still here, which is why I'm talking to you. And maybe I'll do one of these interviews in 20 years if I'm still here, or 30. I guess I'll have to wait 35 years. I don't know how I'm going to make it 35 more years.
You
gonna have to-
You got to be lucky to do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. You got good genetics, I guess. But when you think about that time span, who are some people in your life, or business or politics or anything else? Who are some people that really impacted you over the years that you think people should remember as being good Hillsboro citizens, good leaders, or just good people? Who are some people that come to mind? It could be living or gone. I don't care which.
Amos LaHaye is one of them.
Who's that?
Amos LaHaye. It had the
Amos
LaHaye's
LaHaye.
man, so,
Okay. Yes. That'd be Greg's dad.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I ever knew him, but he's obviously been in
He was a
Hillsboro.
great guy, good businessman, ran a nice store.
You learned some stuff from him.
I picked everybody's brain I could. 'Cause
I bet
really
you
didn't have
did.
the merchandising.
I bet you did. Watched how they did their advertising and their specials and how they stocked the shelves and all that.
Yep, and Walt McKinney.
Yeah, the Argus.
Yep.
Of course, you probably knew all the McKinneys, right?
Yeah, I knew Vern and
Vern. Walt was the son of.
was the son of Vern. Dick was another son of Vern.
Yeah, I remember Dick, the trench coat, and he had the pipe. He'd go to all the basketball games and raise hell. What was his wife's name? Or
I can see her, but I don't believe I can.
brunette? Was she a brunette?
Yeah, she was a brunette.
Okay, she used to come to all the basketball games.
Quite an attractive gal, and you wondered how in the hell
Yeah.
she
Yep.
ended up with him.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't like Dick, but he was just.
No, you never knew the mom though. Emma was the founder of the paper.
I
Met her?
I know who she was, but that's
Okay.
all I can say.
Well, the Argus was really something, weren't they? In so many ways, the Argus reflected the town, but the town reflected the Argus because they kind of set the tone of what was expected of being in Hillsboro, and they covered every damn thing in town. Every wedding, every gathering, every store. I mean, for a local paper, I don't think people realize how good it was,
It was a good paper, and they did a heck of a job.
It was sad when they went under.
When you think of that, I think back one time, I was living out in a town, I had a bike and I rode to town and I ran into Peggy Chapman. And she said, you should come up and see me sometime. Well, her dad's Mick Chapman, who had the filling station at Main and 3rd.
Yeah, Chapman's.
So I was in town one time and I thought, well, I'll just go up and see Peggy. Well, Walt had been dating her.
Uh-oh.
And I got there when they were eating dinner, and I sat and waited through, and then I went out and helped Peggy do dishes, and here come Walt. And Walt and I were pretty good friends anyway, but was he ever pissed off? You can't believe all this swearing he let me.
He thought you were working on his gal, huh?
I often think back and laugh about that. We were good friends afterwards.
He
but
passed away
not long
recently?
ago.
Yeah, pretty recently. In fact, I don't think it's even been a year. I remember seeing something about it, and I was
It's
like,
been
oh
a very
boy,
short time ago.
Walt's gone. Yeah.
Dick is still alive.
Is he? Huh. I wonder if he's... How old's he now, do you know?
Oh,
About
he's
your age?
probably
85?
85, maybe. I would just guess that.
Okay. I may have to look him up. What did you ever know? So some of the people I've run into, did you know Charlie Noble?
Uh-huh.
Any memories about him? He was kind of a wildcat for what he did.
Charlie Noble was when I knew who he was before this. Was when he
Did a cabinet shop.
Yeah, when he wanted to put that in, he didn't have the money to do it, and he came around
Right.
and borrowed money from some of the merchants, and we being one of them.
Yeah.
to
Do
help
you
him
know
get started.
was that what they called the Hillsborough Industrial
Yeah,
Corp or something?
yeah.
Because I have some stock certificates from one of the Denfields here in town that her parents bought, and she wants to know if they're still good. And I've read in the Argus that I have a picture, and there's another lady I want to ask you about because you went to school with this gal, and I've been working on their family estate. So did you ever know Dr. Wells or June Wells?
I know June Wells. Went
You-
to high school with her.
You knew June. Yeah, she passed away last fall in her house down here on 7th.
Did she? Did she end up in that house in the end?
Yeah,
Really?
the house that's like a barn.
Yeah.
Yeah, she lived there for a long time, and she kind of a recluse at the end, but she passed away at 93. That's why I figured you knew her. And if you remember, her husband she had was a fighter pilot. He had died in the 50s. Her dad was chief of staff, Dr. Wells, at Tuolity. I've got his glasses right here that I got out of the house because I'm cleaning out the estate. But a lot of people don't know the Wells family or that story, and they had quite a run here in Hillsborough, but there's just none of them left. And anyway, June's mom was Pinky Wells, and I have a picture of her in the front page of the Argus handing over a $50,000 check for the Hillsborough Industrial Development Corp., which they said was the money that was used to build the industrial park where Charlie Noble built the Noblecraft. Well, that was a big deal for Hillsborough because there were a lot of jobs there, and I think it was the first automated cabinet shop of its kind in the country. So he was using automation, assembly line type stuff. So he's an interesting character.
Yes, he is.
Did you ever know any of the Tongues?
No, I did not.
You know the old house
I
down
know
here?
the house, but I never
Never met the old guy
never
there
met
inside?
him. He
Okay.
was kind of recluse.
He sure
I
was,
recall.
yeah.
Nope.
I had one meeting with him for about an hour, kind of like this, and I wish I would have had my phone back then. It was a while back. And he told me the whole Tongue story, which was a very old Hillsborough story, because that family was a powerhouse. Kind of like the Wells got here in 1914, and they were all gone, except for June. The whole family disappeared out of here. There were 9 of them, and they all went to Hillsborough High from 24 through about 44. She was the last one, I think. Anyway, so you knew the McKinneys, you knew the Shanes from Perfection Bakery. What was he like?
Oh, he was a generous grouch.
A generous grouch.
I mean, he's the guy who sponsored our softball team. He's the guy who put up the lights for the softball team, softball league field.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. But he probably got a lot of advertising value out of that too.
Well, I'm sure he got some, but he was.
He's a good contributor to the community then, wasn't he?
And when his wife passed away, and it was about the time I lost my wife.
Huh.
He came and wanted some money to put the memorial for his wife. And I said, Herman, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it for my wife and not yours. And he accepted that just fine. He understood that.
Yeah. Well, they had a good run here. Perfection
Yes, he
Bakery did.
He was a character.
Yeah.
Did you know him?
Only as a kid, not later in life. I've met the boys, 2 of them, but I know from their history. Of course, from their baked goods, everybody has memories of the Schnecken and the maple bars and the cakes, right? So we touched on a lot of people. You knew Orange Phelps a little bit. He did our theaters. You must have known the Wheels a little bit.
I had 2 of them in my class, Bob and Tony.
Really?
Tony was a good guy. Bob was
Yeah. Tough guy, right?
he was just.
Hard to do business with.
He was tough to call a friend.
Yeah, I understand.
But Tony was just.
So it was Forrest, their brother?
Oh, Forrest and St. Tony. His
Oh,
nickname
that's
was
him.
Tony, but his middle name was Forrest.
Yeah, I knew both of them, and I knew both of them enough to know the difference between the two, and I understand what you're saying. Let me put it that way,
Yeah.
in a nice way. What about bankers? Who around town do you know who did you bank with?
Jim Anderson. Did you know Jim Anderson? I doubt you knew Jim.
Uh-uh.
He has a little bank right next to the store there.
Huh.
for one.
Was it a credit union or a small bank or what?
It was a pretty good sized bank. I really don't know the volume. That was so many
Yeah.
years ago, but he was the manager of that bank, and he was a big enthusiast for sport events in the town.
Right on.
And
So you banked with them when you were at the store?
I did bank with them. That's
Good.
when,
You just take your deposits right over there? And,
that's where we banked with a commercial bank, but personally I banked with.
oh, okay. Commercial bank was downtown on where U.S. Bank was?
On Second Main.
Second
Corner
Main.
there, that bank.
Where U.S. Bank is.
That's
I
where
think.
they're banking. When I went into the store and I had to change that.
Good.
The manager of that bank, I went to them when we went in the store to build this new store. I didn't have any money.
Sure. That's a lot of money to build a store.
And so I went to every bank in town,
I bet you did, yeah.
and nobody loaned me any money.
Ah,
And one time Bill Hare had come in the store.
yeah.
I was buying a card, and he was buying a card. And he lived across the street from it. We didn't socialize a lot. But anyway, he said, in our conversation on the way, he said, well, Billy boy, if you ever need any cash, give me a call.
Really?
So I thought, well,
He called you Billy Boy?
yeah.
So that's Bill Hare.
Yeah, he was,
He's a lawyer, right?
yeah, he was older than my dad probably.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so I went in to talk to him.
Into his law office?
In his office, took me upstairs and we sat down. And
Was that
I
on
told
Second Street, facing the courthouse?
him, Third Street,
3rd Street. Okay.
corner of Third Street.
Kind of across from Hill
Right next
Theater?
to what the old CC store was,
Okay.
across from the Hayes
Gotcha.
store.
Okay.
I told him my problem. I said we want to build a new store, take over Cruz's grocery store, and then that whole story. And he sat there a while, and he said, let me make a couple phone calls. They made a phone call, came back, said, why don't you go back down and talk to the bank? And I said, well, I can do that, because I was desperate. We're going to do this. I had to come up with so much money. So I went down and talked to them, and they did loan me the money. And I assumed they did that until I paid them back. A different bank over there that was running the store, and he pulled that out and says, what the hell did we do loan you money like this? Oh, he said, I see, he built here and backed you up on that. And you never ever told me you'd done that, it was all done, he said.
So he kind of put the word in, more or less
Well,
guaranteed
he
it,
just banked, he guaranteed the loan.
which means they tied it to his savings or his money. What a great guy.
What a great guy, yep.
Who are some other lawyers you remember from that era?
Sturgis?
Yeah.
Sturgis was, he did.
Hare and Sturgis were partners.
Yes.
I've seen their name on the sign, in fact.
He was the guy who put the paperwork together for me to buy into the store.
Oh, okay.
Oh, let's see, who were others? Way back.
Never.
Sturgis and he had a fellow in business with him. I can't think what his name was.
There was Brisby and Schwinn,
Swin, of course.
Bill Schwinn, and Brink.
Frank,
You must know Barney.
I know his dad better.
Oh, okay. Merv
Merv,
Brink.
when
Yeah, Barney's getting up there in years, but compared to you, he's not there. So I could see where you would know his dad better.
Merv, I had my mom's will was her and dad filled out a piece of paper and signed it. And they made me the administrator of it. And I wanted to see the will to see what I was up against. And I said, Mom, let's go get a lawyer and draw this up. I'm a little afraid of this. It might not be accepted. So we went to Merv Brink. And he took care of us on that. And then later I used him for when it became some damn thing. Anyway, But I remember he was a character.
Yeah.
He walked in, and it was like we were the oldest friend and the best friends in the world. And that's what he made you feel when you were
Oh,
there.
that's nice.
And before the day was over, he said, "Let me show you something." And he opened his safe, and he had all this money, all this old coins,
Wow.
by the hundreds of dollars, I know. But he said, "Don't tell anybody."
Old coins.
yeah,
He was just showing you what he had.
yeah, he was proud of it.
I'll ask you a few more names. Let's see. Did you know Mr. Ireland from Ireland's Hardware? Was he already gone?
I think he was gone because Vern Hayes and Lloyd ran that store. Right?
Okay. You know Howard Davis, the old
I
realtor?
know Howard Davis. Yeah.
What was he like?
He was on the Water Commission for a short time when I spent 30 years on the Water
I was
Commission.
going to ask you, didn't you have any political aspirations or sit on committees? You had to have.
Well, that
Water Commission's a pretty big one.
You like another?
Yeah, I'll have one. You want one
No, I
more?
don't care for anything. Thank you.
I'll have one more Coke, please.
I'm gonna order something else.
No, we're good. Thank you.
He was on the Park Commission with me.
Okay.
I was
so
on the Park Commission.
you were on the Park Commission and the Water Commission?
I was on the Park Commission to start with.
Okay.
And then my wife got to where our meetings were at noon, and I put them at 7 o'clock in the morning.
No.
Well, I didn't have help coming in,
But you couldn't do that.
so I
Yeah.
couldn't do that, so
Yeah.
I resigned.
Gotcha.
And then Eldon came after me to get on the Water Commission, and I put him off for a couple of times.
Eldon Mills did. He was our city manager for a long time, right?
Yeah.
You were good friends with him, or do you know him?
Oh, yeah, I knew him because I worked. My first acquaintance with him is when they were going to take Shoot Park, baseball park. And they went to guys that they're playing ball with, they were talking about it one day, and I says, "Let me get out and talk to Eldon Mills." And I didn't know him well enough to really do
Yeah.
that, but I went down and had a chat with him
About the baseball diamond?
about the baseball diamond. And
What
I
were
must
they-
have made an impression because after that, he was after me to get on the,
What were they wanting to do with the baseball
they were
diamond?
going to sell it.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't, and
The city owned it, right?
the city owned it, and
It's now a shopping center, so
Yeah.
somebody bought it over the
Yeah,
years.
well, eventually they bought it, but before they did that, they agreed to build all the softball diamonds out the fairgrounds.
Okay.
And
So that's a
they had
replacement.
5 ball diamonds out there.
Yeah.
Replaces 1 ball diamond.
So you
They
helped
own it.
negotiate
Well,
getting a better deal.
I don't know that I helped negotiate, but I expressed my.
Then you were on the Water Commission as well.
Then I went.
Do you remember what happened with the big water tank there on 24th at the off Main where they built the reservoir? I had read an article one day in the Argus before I went to a city council meeting, and they said the evening they were putting the final skim coat on the top of that big tank that's over there off Baseline at 5:30 and 5:38 in the evening as the final cement went on, the roof collapsed and 10 workers fell, 6 of them died, I
I
think.
remember when that happened, but I was not on the Water Commission at that time.
Yeah, it was pretty tragic. And
Yes, it was.
I asked our current city council if we could do a little plaque out there for the guys that died building that, because they were mostly from Portland, because they weren't local kids, you know. And let's see, I know you know the Judas from Burgerville, great family that have meant a lot to Hillsborough all
Al
those
was
years.
Best friend of mine for
Al.
30 years. Al was.
Yeah, I remember selling advertising during high school for the yearbook and and the school paper, and he would always, you know, back the paper always.
Yeah, he was
And that was
a
our
good guy.
that was our mainstay, you know, there. And so, you know, in my childhood, you meet people, you don't always remember them, but I've met a lot of people over the years. In real estate, especially, you meet a lot of people. And
Well, Al was, I was